speaking, welcome or welcome back. Firstly, welcome to the new setup. This is my new office. It's a little bit bare at the moment, but that's kind of the way I like it. I'll give you a quick office tour just from what you can see behind me, because really that's about it. I'm super minimalist. I don't really like a lot of things in my space, as you can see by the display shelf behind me over here. So this is my New Year's resolution shelf that you can see. Basically, a couple of videos ago I made a list of goals, and this is where those goals are going to go. So one of those goals was to read more, so to finish off series that I had started and to start series and not get scared along the way. And what I'm going to do is put all the books that I read this year and I complete on this top shelf here. I don't expect to fill more than that top shelf. I am going back to uni part-time as well as working full-time, and that tends to sort of suck my reading time out when I'm reading all the academic stuff. It's a lot of the word reading in a short amount of time. Anyway, anything that I read this year in terms of fiction or stuff that I'm reading for pleasure, I'm going to pop it up there. I really do want to read the Lord of the Rings trilogy this year, so I'm hoping that you will see that up there at some point. On the second shelf, we have some nostalgic things for me, or a couple of little items that mean a lot, and that is the green teacup over here. Is a teacup that I had from childhood at my grandmother's house. She gave it to me when they were cleaning their house. I've got my truck, so my boy gets a truck that my mum gave to me when I first came out to give me my first truck from the Keith Urban song, Boy Gets a Truck. And I have a book of whiskey that my grandfather gave me, so 500 great whiskies in there. Book's a little bit outdated, but he gave it to me because we both shared that love of whiskey, so it means a lot to me, and it's on the family shelf. On the one underneath it here, so there's two shelves here, 1 and 2, which are dedicated to the whiskey that I buy/try this year, because I wanted to buy/try 10 new whiskies, and I've got my first 2 here. I've got the Teeling finished in a rum cask over here, and I've got the Ben Rake 10-year over there. So I know this channel isn't about whiskey. I do have a whiskey page on Instagram, and I'll pop that link down below if you want to follow along, and that is my whiskey journey. It's called the Poor Man's Whiskey Bar because I'm a novice and I'm poor and I'm discovering it. Anyway, what is today's video about? I'm talking about being in this house, being the first house that I have been known as Kris from start to finish. I will never not be known as Kris in this property, and the reason I want to talk about that is because in the last property I was in for 3 years, I was known as my birth name. I applied to have my birth name changed on the lease about, would have been a couple of months into my second round of leases there. So when I came out as trans, it was within the first lease, and I didn't have my name legally changed, so I didn't bother. I kept all my contact details the same, and then I did come out as trans about a year after that point, and I was 6 months into the second lease. By that time, my partner and I had signed an 18-month lease in my birth name, unfortunately. When I legally changed it, I sent them an email and I gave them a call to ask whether I could change it on the paperwork, and they said no, because they couldn't reissue a lease with my birth name on it without having to go through the whole process again. What that meant for them was that they had to basically break the lease. We would have to pay for the broken lease and then re-sign as new tenants and go through the entire checks again. My partner and I decided that it was not worth the time and effort and the money at that time to go through that process. As a result, I was often misgendered, and I was often called my birth name by the real estate, unknowingly to them. People who did know, because I told them the situation, and most of the people on that team were really good about it. They didn't slip up. But as new people trickled in from that real estate, they would see my old email address, which also wasn't allowed to be updated, and they would use the name on that email address, which was my birth name. So I did get a few emails occasionally. Most of the time they did call me by Kris, which was excellent, but occasionally I would get an email at my birth name. And every time I would have to go back and tell them that, hi, kinda sucks getting this in my birth name. I understand your limitations, but can you please put a note on file to make sure that you only call me Kris and by these pronouns? Every time I would get an email back saying sorry, no dramas, and they were perfectly lovely about it. But it did happen from one person on more than one occasion. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was intended just a slip up, because in the system they had my birth email, they had my birth name and the email address that I was using at that time. So this house is new and I get to be known as Kris from the get-go, which is awesome, and I kind of understand why people want to go stealth once they start to pass a little bit more, and that is because it feels great to not have to deal with explaining myself over and over and over again. I'm just Kris in this property, and that was a really euphoric moment for me. There's still stuff to do in that old house, that's fine. I've got a couple of weeks left on that lease, but in 2 weeks time, sorry, that's rude, in 2 weeks time, I will just be Kris forevermore to this real estate, and it's awesome. Anyway, that was a quick story time from me. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of it, then click on my face, which will be down here, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, bye.